Good morning, fellow Toastmasters from Wisconsin. Good day, everyone. Our club mission is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which all of our members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting hopefully in a greater self-confidence and personal growth. And I'm always happy to see emails come out and people sharing the accomplishments that they have done, hopefully inspired by their Toastmaster experience. I would like to start out right away and introduce our presiding officer of the day, our president, Jerry Zimmerman.
Thank you, Jennifer, for getting us started on time and reminding us of our mission. Very well done. I would like first to call on our language facilitator so that we all have an opportunity to use the word of the day. Take it away, Lou.
All right, thank you, Mr. President, fellow Toastmasters. For today's language, and I want to make sure I've got the full grasp of the role as our club has it. It's the wordmaster as well as counter grammarian, correct?
Correct.
So in the word of the day today is sustenance. Sustenance, that which keeps us going and nourished. So try to use that in your speeches today or even in your role reporting. I'll also be counting the filler words, the ums, ahs, so's, you knows, and any words that we just happen to insert into our speeches as verbal crutches. I'll also look for some colorful uses of language throughout the meeting today. And then at the end, I'll give a report on how we did. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lou. Yes, I should have reminded everyone that our meeting theme today is nutrition or charity or nutrition. So there's plenty of opportunity to use the word. Toastmasters is certainly the sustenance of my week, one of the more enjoyable things that I do and more invigorating things that I do. My agenda here says I need to call on our guest, and I think we have one guest today, and that's Patty. Would you briefly introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Patty Pickfranca. I live in Noblesville, Indiana, and I am so happy to be here today to have more sustenance with you and get fortified on my Toastmaster journey.
Excellent. Well, I know you have a lot to contribute as well. Moving on to our business session. There's mostly announcements and reminders, but I'm going to start with Haritosh about that all-important subject, dues.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. As we know, we are in the month of September and our Toastmaster renewals happen for the period October to March from September. For the last cycle, there had been a bit of confusion in terms of how much is the dues and how much individual needs to pay. So the committee has been working on finalizing what you have paid so far and what you need to do. So you can expect in the coming week sending me a detail of how much exactly you need to pay. There have been members who have paid way much than they were supposed to pay in the last cycle, and there have been also members who paid little less than what it was supposed to be. So based on that, I will be sending you the detail of how much exactly you need to send. You have option of sending through PayPal if you are in US. You can also send me to my Indian account or UK account if you are in India or UK. And for Francine, we'll continue the way we did with the Western Union. You have plenty of option to share the membership dues, and we'll take it from there. Thank you so much. Over to you, Mr. President.
Thank you for taking care of that, Haritosh. That's a big job, I know. Dues are the sustenance of the club, and we certainly want to keep those coming in on time. I see we have another guest that has just shown up. Cuckoo Rivera, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, it's good evening where I'm at. I'm Cuckoo from the Philippines. I'm gonna watch and learn from you guys. Thank you for having me.
All right, Cuckoo, thank you very much. And nice to have someone from the Philippines. And we will call on you right at the end of the meeting just to offer your comments on your experience here today. So thank you for joining us. Moving on to more reports and so forth. Educational Vice President, he's already on top of things, but Abhishek, will you please bring us up to date?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So I've just wrote a mail around 40 minutes requesting your availability for next 3 meetings starting from of October and ending on 18th of September and ending on 16th of October. Please share your availability on email by Wednesday, 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will roll out the agenda accordingly after that, and we would also be trying to hold one of the special meetings that has been discussed by the committee and the suggestions that we have received. So your availability would make it easier for me to plan the things accordingly. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Abhishek, and for everyone. Yes, he deserves applause. That's a big job. Do notice that he said he would like that information by September the 8th. Take a moment right away and look at your advanced schedule, see when you're going to be available. You do not have to be absolutely sure, but if there's any doubt, let him know. And I'm sure he would appreciate knowing if you have any special requests. Would you like to speak on a certain day or so forth? It's a big job. The club educational vice president has a big role, and we can all help. With that, I'd like to call on public relations. I know Mahir has been working on things. Mahir, would you like to give us an update and tell us how we can help you?
Thank you so much, Jerry. So what we were doing, I have changed a few things that something that we were doing earlier. I thought that we can improve. So first of all, we do get some guests every now and then, but we are not able to collect their emails. Like we do get likes on Facebook, but we don't get their email. And like we call it leads, right? So I had a discussion with our PP Education Toastmaster Abhishek, and he is actually a digital marketing entrepreneur. So he told me about this tool called a Send in Blue. So what I do, I have created a form on our Facebook. Anyone who is interested to attend meeting in future, they can fill that form. So, and then I collect the emails from that form, and then I send them the invitation for every meeting. So because of that, we can see the guest. We can see a new guest here, Cuckoo. So she was one of the guests on Facebook only. Like she filled the form on Facebook. So yeah. So this is my email. So our guest list has increased to 21 new guests. So we can send them invitation. So we have new guests now that we can invite. So I think it is working. It will take a bit more time. And so I will just show how I do this. Okay, screen share is disabled. I can get a second. Like if you can share that form with someone who is interested to to attend, or they just want to receive the newsletter or
May I try
Sure.
now?
So this is
Okay,
our Facebook page that we are. So right now we have this form. So this is the form. So this is the form that a guest has to fill. So that, and from here we also know what are the sources where we are getting our leads, so that we can track them. And I use this tool, Send in Blue. Thanks to Toastmaster Abhishek for telling me about this. And I have already sent 3 campaigns. So last time we had a guest Kishan Chand. He was also from our Facebook. So we are getting new leads.
excellent.
So I think this will work much better. And I had to work. There is one issue I am facing. I have collected some interviews, but I don't have any video editing tool right now. My editing tool is expired. So if
Okay.
you have any free editing tool you want to recommend, please let me know.
Very good. Thank you for a very thorough report. Guest or the
Mr. President, if I may chip in, Mihir will speak on that off the record after the meeting. I do have few video editing tools that I can share with you. We'll take it
Okay.
from there.
Yes. So guests are the sustenance of club growth. So let's work on that. And as a final reminder, unless anyone else has something, there is an officers meeting immediately after our club meeting today. We'll take about a 5-minute break and then start our officers meeting and mostly deal with dues and membership. So anything else someone would have to add to our announcements at this point? Good. Hearing that, time to move on to the Toastmaster of the day. And guess who that is? That would be moi. This would be Jerry Zimmerman, and I'm going to move right on in by entering. Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate that applause. Right on into Abhishek, who will be our general evaluator. Would you please quickly describe your duties and make sure that we have our evaluators all lined up?
Thank you, Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster. So as general evaluator, I would be looking at overall meeting. However, a major change that we have from other clubs is that the general evaluator is called and then the evaluators are called. Global Online Advanced Toastmasters, the general evaluator is called at the very end. The evaluators and the role players are called upon by the Toastmaster of the day. So I'm just a silent observer for today's meeting, and I would be giving my observation at the end of the meeting. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Abhishek, very much. And timing, as we know, is very important. And our timer today comes from that illustrious Indiana University. John Pedersen, would you update us on the timing rule?
Well, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our honored guests that are able to join us today. The timing device that I will be using is a background of a green, yellow, and red. And I'll just put that up at 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and 7 minutes. That'll be 6 minutes, and that'll be 7 minutes, each of the timers. And I've learned also that the educational session is going to be 5 to 7 minutes. So that's where we're going to go with the speeches and educational session. During the table topics, those signal devices, green, yellow, and red, will be given at 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, and 2 minutes. And if I can get a refresher in terms of the speech evaluations, do I give the same at 2 minutes, 2.5, and 3 minutes?
That's the way it is on the agenda for right now. I encourage evaluators to try to keep it closer to 2 minutes.
So I'll give it at, let's say, 1.5, 2, and 2.5.
That sounds like a good compromise. Thank you.
Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. I don't see our joke master online, so oh, Mark, you have something to say?
I have a quick joke if you like.
Oh, yes, yours are always memorable.
I was thirsty, so I went into a bar, wanted something a little fruity, said to the bartender, "I'd like a punch, please." He said to me, "You will have to get in line." I looked around. There's no punchline.
Ah. I apologize, everybody, for calling on Mark. No, very good. We enjoy that. I'll have to remember that one myself. With that, we have a warm-up facilitator, and this is a role just to get us to speaking a few brief sentences, one or two. And we've already asked our timer to put a red light up at 25 seconds. This is not table topics. So I'm passing the baton on to our warm-up facilitator today, the Mr. Paul Richard. Who will take himself off of mute. There.
Good day again, fellow Toastmasters. Each speaker, as noted, should try for 30 seconds. And we've got a total of 10 minutes. And I see that most of the people online have roles, so you may be called on regardless if you have a role or not. It just so happens, Lou, that my question, when you wish to provide sustenance to someone, is it from a point of charity or nutrition? So I will start out with John, and don't worry about the timing, I've got it.
Thank you, Mr. Warm-Up Facilitator. Again, guests and other Toastmasters. The question being coming from a position of nutrition or sustenance or charity, what would you give someone else? I hope it's something nutritional, even in terms of this meeting. I don't want to give somebody nothing to which to salivate on. So I guess I'll give everybody my thought, and I already heard it today, was what accomplishments are we most proud of in our lives, and what are we working on that would improve society? So that's where I'm coming from. Something of something to sink your teeth in, to absorb and to work on. I think we all should be working towards something. I'll turn it back
John,
to
you're
you,
getting a
Mr.
little
Warm-Up
long. John, you're
Facilitator.
getting a little long. So I'll repeat the question, and thank you for that answer. When you wish to provide sustenance to someone, is it from a point of view of charity or nutrition? And I'm going to ask one of our guests, Patty, to respond to that question.
Thank you, Paul. When I wish to give somebody sustenance, I try to pawn off my baking. I like to practice decorating things and making them beautiful because I love functional art, and eating art is really fun. But I can't eat it. So I try to give sustenance to everybody in the form of my baking. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Patty. Appreciate your comments. I'm going to stop by Noblesville.
Please do.
And the same question, and I'll repeat it again. When you wish to provide sustenance to someone, is it from the point of view of charity or nutrition? Cuckoo. Are you there, Cuckoo?
In my case, it's for it's for the enjoyment of the food. Just like yesterday, I bought 3 packs box of food that was given to me, and I went to my brother's house and shared it with my nephews. It was different kinds of food that was cooked in coconut milk, and it was delicious. So it's the enjoyment of the company and the food.
Cuckoo, thank you very much. That was quite nice. I think everybody's heard the question 3 times, so I won't repeat it. But I'm going to ask someone who already has a role, and I'll go to Alan.
Well, fellow Toastmasters, when I try to give sustenance to someone else, I first need to determine and listen to them on what are their desires and goals and needs. So it's important to understand what the other person is looking for. And often it's just a good listener. And in Toastmasters, we practice being good listeners. Those are my thoughts on that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Same question. And I'm going to Debs, even though she has a role.
Sustenance is very important with food and in life. In the UK, we have what we call food banks for charity. So I like to collect food to put in the food banks to give sustenance to the needy. Back to you, Paul.
Well, thank you, Debs. I'm going to end with myself. In Catholicism, there is a group of tenets called the corporal works of mercy. Clothe the clothesless, bury the dead, tend to the sick, among others, and one is give food to those without food. So it falls in this case under mercy. I am finished.
You are finished.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
I'll respond to that as well. The word charity is certainly a good word, but I tend to go from the point of view of nutrition, but not calories, minerals, and so forth. Nutrition of the spirit. Many of you have commented on that. Just showing someone that they are important by sharing food with them, by being there. And I guess spiritual nutrition would be the way I view it. So thank you for those very interesting questions, Paul. We learned something about each of us. We are now moving on to our educational session. And many of us have already heard Kit give presentations on his vast repertoire of technical capabilities. Occasionally he's scanned around at his desktop there and he has more equipment than I think a Radio Shack store used to have. And I think most of us know what a Radio Shack store is, but regardless, Kit's going to start a series of sharing some tips with us. And his tip presentation today is presenting the word of the day. Kit, you are on.
Thank you, Jerry. As Jerry said, this is the first of a series. The intention is that each week, each meeting, we will have a short presentation. And at the end of this presentation, I'll be asking for some further ideas from you as to what I could include as a presentation. But this one is presenting word of the day. Having word of the day presented on screen means that it's something that we can look at, and it does help us then with seeing what is going on. So by having it on the screen, we don't need to scroll up. We've all said sustenance quite a few times, including myself, but to remember the word sustenance and to remember its definition, particularly if it's a somewhat more obscure word, it would be useful for it to be on screen. Now, a number of you may well have seen when I have been grammarian or helping out with the meeting, I will put the word of the day up on one of the little windows that you can see. This presentation is going to show how to do that. The first thing to do is to prepare that definition in Word. For it to be an image to be shared, it obviously has to be written first. And so just using a word layout, I tend to use the same one with a certain layout. I will put the word of the day together, and often shortly after it is introduced by the grammarian, I will write this up. I will do a quick Google for a definition of that word and put that into a Word document. And then I will screen grab that because I need that as an image. A very simple way to do a screen grab is to press the Windows key and the Shift key and the S key. That's assuming you're using a PC. That will then allow you to draw a box around the region of the screen that you wish to grab, and that image is then able to be saved or pasted somewhere else. If you click on the image that comes up, you can then save it with a file name. And you'll get something that looks a little bit like this. Once you have an image, that is then available as a background. On a PC, I'm sure you're all familiar with setting, oh, look, that's me. You're all able to add your image as a background, and you simply select the screen grab that you've made. If you are using a mobile device, and a lot of the time I use a mobile device because it's just another device, it means I don't have to have a second computer running, although most of the time I have at least one computer running. On a mobile device, you can do the same kind of thing. If you press the three dots bottom right hand corner of the screen, this is from a iPhone, you can then select your virtual background in much the same way. And so again, you'd press the plus button and choose a photo. You will of course have to get that image to your phone, and there's a number of different ways you can do it. If you've got a Mac, it's extremely simple. If you're using a PC, you can save it to a shared area that you can then access on your phone. Once you've done that, you then need to ensure that the phone only shows that image. So it's going to be a virtual background, but you'll need the camera not to show anything. So you can get the image up on your phone like this. It's on my phone like this, and I'm using the camera on the back. And the way that it is coming up full screen is I've done something extremely low tech. There are times when high tech works and times when low tech works. This is a piece of blue tack that I just stuck over the camera lens, which causes the virtual background to occupy the full screen. Having done that, you then need to join the meeting just from your phone, log into the meeting and join, ideally giving yourself a name, something like word of the day, so that it's obvious what that person is. So that was presenting word of the day. What I wanted to do now is see if anybody had any questions about that process, and if not, then move on to some of the ideas that I've had about future sessions.
I have a question.
Yes.
And I would also add, we're doing pretty good on time. So if people have a couple of questions, go
Sure.
ahead. We're doing okay. I like that way you have the inset of your image on the screen. And I know we've talked about that before, but I'm kind of thick-headed. So would you remind me again how you do that?
I'm using some software called OBS Studio. And in fact, what I have done for this example is the PowerPoint presentation has a green box on it at this, surrounding here. And then I'm replacing that green box with my video. What I could do is have a green screen behind me and replacing that green screen with the PowerPoint. But for this example, I've done it the other way around.
Okay.
But the key thing is OBS Studio. It's free. It's not particularly straightforward to use. You do need to understand a little bit about it, but it's free and there's lots of information about OBS Studio on the net.
Okay, and I'm sure others would appreciate too. Anything you could put into a document and send out to the group would be appreciated by me,
Sure.
certainly. Do others have questions on this presentation first?
I do have a question or an observation. I just don't happen to be near as computer savvy as you are, Kit. And I would go along with Jerry, and if you could send out the simplest instructions,
Okay.
that would be absolutely wonderful. And by the way, I have a PC.
PC. Okay.
Very good.
I'm ancient.
Yeah.
The sustenance of life is simplicity. Any other
Okay.
questions?
Just to say, you could show us a living example by putting sustenance. Join the meeting as WOTD.
Very good. Okay, now Kit said he wanted to present some of his ideas and maybe get some feedback about future.
Indeed. Thank you, Jerry. So thoughts that I had that could be a very brief but useful 5-minute session, 5 to 7 minute session, is improving your audio. So how to achieve better audio. I'm using this as a microphone, which is why I can talk like that. I also thought of ideas for better video, ideas about running PowerPoint, the best way to transition into PowerPoint, and some basic tips around PowerPoint, how to run polls. If you have been a Zoom host, you may know about that, but it's not entirely straightforward, and some other ideas about audience feedback, doing things like this sort of thing that you might have seen, and the other ways that you can get audience feedback if you are the presenter. Those were my ideas, but I'm very open to any other ideas or requests that people have.
Well, I'm sure there are people out there with thoughts on this. I will remind everyone that you can get Kit's email address by signing on as a member, going over to the left-hand side of the website homepage, clicking on private member directory, and you can get anyone's email address. So maybe even if you just want Kit's input on something for yourself, that might also end up resulting in a topic idea. And I'm sure from my perspective, again, repeating some of these things would certainly be appropriate. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a question. So whenever I, use OBS to share a window, and if on that window, if something is moving, or if it is a video, or if it is like if it is like a timer screen, what happens that on my window I can see it that the timer is running, but for others they are not able to see. They are just seeing a paused video. So how do I resolve this issue?
I think maybe the thing to do is for me to catch up with you later, because it sounds like a hardware issue or something on your computer, but catching up later I think would be the thing to do.
Very good.
Thank you. Good.
Fine. And I noticed there are some nice exchanges going on in chat. If you can conveniently do that, you can kind of keep up with things.
Learning from the Tech Wizard, I've actually posted a poll about what would be the next session idea. So please put in your votes. Let's see.
Oh, one choice. Oh boy.
One choice, yeah.
Man. I'm going to click that one. Okay.
I think because some of you are hosts, so you might not get it. Let me remove if I can. No, I am not host. So but well, I'm going to end the poll.
I'm the host.
And
what am I supposed to? I'm the host.
But I'm sharing the result. Like everyone selected one other option, but running PowerPoint seems to be winning, except the co-host didn't get an option. So maybe that would be the next session. People do need to learn about running PowerPoint effectively. Yeah, we know how to run bad PowerPoint.
Well, from my personal experience, there's always room for me to learn more about PowerPoint, and perhaps others feel the same way. So, well, very good. Let's give Kit a round of applause. we're indeed fortunate to have him as a resource for global advanced Toastmasters. Moving on to actual prepared speaker presentations, and a heads up to, I believe it's Haritosha, will be asking for the vote for best speaker after the second one. Our first speaker is Francine Embach. Francine is an electrical engineer. She's passionate about leadership, and we've certainly seen that. She enjoys personal development, helping others, and working with nonverbal communications. Her evaluator is going to be, I already lost her, it will be Jennifer. And her title is going to be My Hair. Interesting title. I'm eager to hear what you have to say. Passing it over to you, Francine.
Thank you, Jerry. Do you see this big fluffy cloud around my head? Of course you can see it. It is certainly the first or one of the first 5 things you notice about me. Scientists call this hair. Simple and straightforward, right? Well, it is not that simple. First of all, this is actually a hairstyle and it is called afro. In the 60s, wearing an afro became a weapon in the fight for racial equality as well as a public declaration of self love and solidarity within the Black community. And during the fight for civic rights all around the world, it has been used as a massive destruction weapon. So, this cannot just be hair. Definitely not. If I shave them bald, I will let people know that I am bereaved. Either I am a widow or I am an orphan. An orphan. Now, if in the morning I feel lazy, I can use a stylish and sophisticated head wrap. If I want to go to a wedding, I can also put another very sophisticated head wrap with a nice and colorful fabric. Or I can simply put a gele, as it is called in Nigeria. I can also do something else. I can plait them in a tight or loose manner with specific patterns as you can see on the screen. These are all hairstyles. I can also decide that I will never comb them and let them grow in dreadlocks. Then it will denote a spiritual intent with natural or supernatural powers and a statement of non-violent, non-conformity, communalism, and socialistic values. As you can see, it is not just hair. It can allow someone to identify my culture, my tribe, my age, my job, my marital status, my level of professionalism, my spirituality, and many other things. This simple, fluffy, soft, and kinky material over my head can speak volume about my true identity or an identity I want to create. And this is what I did 8 years ago. I took the bold and controversial decision to shave my head bald and to never relax them again in my entire life. And I can say this is one of the best decisions I've ever taken in my entire life. It looks trivial, right? And simple as a decision. But I can tell you it's not just that. This decision gave me peace. It helped me to find myself, to realign myself with who I truly am, and to love myself, to love my hair, and to love them the way they are. However, by the same token, it confronted me with a whole wave and set of attitude and judgment I could ever imagine I will face just because of hair. Those attitudes and judgment, they were both positive, but mostly negative, just because of my hair. For some, I was perceived as unprofessional and generally careless about my look. At some point coming to the office, I was even rejected at the gate because of my hair. For some people, I was protesting and claiming some kind of rights. For others, again, I was going through a tough moment in my life, which was true. For others, I was suspension point. You can fill the blanks. So now, when I come across a person with different hairstyles, hair texture, I am just unable to judge the person according to it. Why? Because I do not necessarily know what it means in her or in his culture. What does a hairstyle mean in your culture? For some people, it means nothing, but for others, it means everything I previously stated. So, being aware of what hair represents in the Black community, in my own tribe, in my culture, makes me now solely cognizant that you cannot judge a person by his or her hairstyle because it is sometimes part of something bigger than what you can imagine. It is part of the person's identity. And this identity is not necessarily similar to mine. So I need to be careful to the way I treat people because of the way they look, because of their hair, just because of their hair. Therefore, I have learned to let sink in myself and communicate to people this very powerful quote from Marcus Garvey. Don't remove the kinks from your hair, remove them from your brain. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much. Don't remove the kinks from your hair, remove the kinks from your brain. That's a very, very poignant statement. And I personally thank you. You've answered many questions that I've had. So again, wonderful presentation. Really enjoyed the topic. Moving on to our second speaker, who's also our Vice President of Public Relations, and that would be Mihir Shastri. Mihir is working on his path, innovative planning. Here he's going to present a proposal. That is his Pathways project. Interesting topic that he has here. His proposal is going to be banning social media, and Haritosh is the evaluator. Tell us about it, Mihir.
So this is the last thing that you would like to hear from your VPPR, right? Banning the social media. Yeah. So one day I was at this family function. Let me rephrase it. I was made to be present at this family function. I was getting bored out of my mind. 8-year-old cousin, he comes to me. Hello, brother. I'm totally ignoring him. Because if you don't know me, let me tell you, I don't like kids. They're annoying and they ask a lot of questions. Bro, I'm also trying to find the answers of my life. How can I answer yours? So I am just completely ignoring him. 15 minutes later, he's still standing there. I give up. Yeah, which class are you in? Third standard. Yay, good. 9 more years to go. And then suddenly out of nowhere, I have a girlfriend. Do you want to see my girlfriend? And I'm like, what? This 8-year-old was chatting with a 20-year-old girl on Instagram. Yes, of course, I told his mother. And I saw him getting the best beating of his life. And now I'm sure that he's never going to bother me again. Kids are not being kids. And the reason is our smartphone, the social media. In people call me old school because I use social media only for this club purpose. And they say, well, social media is good. You can create your own audience. You can spread your ideas. Yeah, absolutely. But it is bad at so many levels also. In olden times, people used to read books to entertain themselves. And while reading those books, a thought might strike and they would discover a new idea. This is how we got Newton and Einstein. But nowadays, the new Einstein and the potential Newton, they are busy twerking on TikTok. So how can you get new ideas from them? Instagram. When I found out that people post the pictures of their food on their social media, I was shocked. I started questioning the purpose of my life. What am I doing? And they are like, look at this avocado toast, and I am at this party at this wonderful place, and you're at your home working hard. And I used to feel so insecure, and so I had started getting inferiority complex. So I just shut down my Instagram account. And it happens with a lot of young adults and teenagers, especially girls. Stats say that about 60% of the girls, they have been bullied online. Then comes the most vicious, evil, and toxic place on this planet. It's not the Chernobyl nuclear site or somewhere inside a volcano. It's not even your toilet. It's something where you read your news while sitting on your toilet seat. It is Twitter. You write one tweet that Earth revolves around the sun, you will see 10 comments that this is your opinion. It may or may not be true. Twitter is a place where facts and opinions are intermingled. You can't distinguish between them. Then something where I personally struggles with YouTube. I know we have few YouTubers in this meeting. So Does it ever happen to you that you are working with concentration and then you think, let me take a break, 5-minute YouTube, it doesn't hurt me. And then you realize 1 hour has passed and you are watching a documentary about how chimpanzees give birth. And I don't know why I always end up watching something about chimpanzees. The YouTube recommendations that you see on the right side, they are like a wormhole. You get sucked in and you come out of it as a staunch supporter of a political ideology or some kind of a conspiracy theorist, like we have Nootka Eagle. And now that I think about my relationship with YouTube and chimpanzees, recently I have been liking bananas more. I don't know what is happening to me. Since leaders of our country, they love to ban things, let us write a proposal and send it to them to ban social media, at least for kids under 12 or under 15, and allow our kids to play outside. And maybe this is how we can save our future. Thank you.
Wow, excellent. I love your analogies. Great vocal emphasis. Really, really well done. I enjoyed that. Anyone who was not present today to hear these two speeches really is at a disadvantage. The ballot for best speaker will be coming up, and I'm going to right now actually call on John to give us the time for the two speeches.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Francine came in at 6:51 and Mahir came in at 7:25.
Wow. Okay, the ballot has been cast and the window closed. And it is now time to, let's see how we're doing on time. We are doing very well. Thank you, everybody. Table topics. Oh boy, this is going to be fun. Mark has put us on warning here, so let's everyone be ready.
Get ready, folks. Here we are.
Remember that the odd sequence
got it.
evaluators are Jennifer and even for Alan and Mark. Let's see what you have for us.
Fellow Toastmasters, hopefully we're going to have some fun. We're going to do something a little different. But the one thing I want you to remember, this is a chance to use your Toastmaster skills. Now, for those of you who are hard of hearing, let me rephrase that real loud. Please use your gestures, eye contact, your pauses, and all those things you've learned in Toastmasters while we do this. Did anybody hear me say, please use your Toastmaster skills? Show of hands, please. Good. You got the idea? Okay. We frequently don't see those things, so I'm going to emphasize them. By golly, and I just did. Today, we're going to do a debate on an important topic. Here's how it works. I will state the topic, the proposal. The first person I call on will support that topic for 1 to 2 minutes. That person will be for the proposal. The second person will be against the proposal, and for 1 or 2 minutes will state why they are against it. Succeeding speakers will be both in order for and against. I'll tell you which. And succeeding speakers may either support or oppose the topic, or if you're clever, you may ridicule humorously one of your predecessor's arguments. That is the highest form of debate. Are you ready? Possibly not, but here we go. Here's the proposal. Our Toastmasters Club will admit dogs as full members. Alan, explain why that is a good idea. You are for.
Mute.
Fellow Toastmasters, we need to get dogs into our Toastmaster Club. They are loud. Many people have too quiet of a voice when they speak, but the dogs, they just bark out their ideas, and dogs have enthusiasm and a positive attitude, and they communicate with others. They interact well. You get a few dogs together and you can just hear them communicating and everything. We really need dogs to be full members of our Toastmaster Club. And they have friendly smiles, and you can just see all their thoughts and expressions in their facial expressions. It comes out so well. And they're happy. We want people to feel good in our Toastmaster Club. So if you have a dog and you can see how happy they are, it'll really enhance our Toastmaster Club. There may be a chance for added diversity, different types of dogs, and small dogs, big dogs, ones with different types of hair. Francine would like the aspect of the different hair and how they're arranged in the various dogs. We could have quite an expansive experience in our club if we allowed dogs to be members of our Toastmaster Club. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Alan. Good use of Toastmaster skills, just what I was hoping to see, by the way. I thought your arguments were very convincing, but I know who did not, because I saw her scowling the whole time, and who could blame her? Debs is going to explain why she is against this idea.
Quite. I think the idea is completely outrageous. I mean, dogs, for goodness sake. Why did TMI make this proposal? Have they gone completely mad? How can we have dogs at our meetings? They would be so distracting. Imagine all that barking, their stupid flappy ears. I can't stand the animals. And just think, imagine if they wanted to go to the toilet. What are we going to do? Have doggy bags at our meetings? Have biscuits at our meetings? My goodness, I think, Alan, talking about their hair, I mean, that is just completely ridiculous. We've got normal hair that define our culture. We love our hair, we like to wash it and condition it. But dogs, my goodness, don't they stink? And they can't speak. They just whimper, they just growl, and they look at you with their stupid doggy faces and their stupid flappy ears, always wanting sustenance, and they just get on my nerves. Dogs in Toastmasters meetings, I think that's completely ridiculous. And I think TMI, in their infinite wisdom, so-called, have gone completely, absolutely, utterly, totally, insanely balmy. And that's what I think about introducing dogs. No way, absolutely no way, anybody who wants them in our meetings should be also thrown out and deleted from the Toastmasters environment altogether. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debs. I wonder how you really feel, but I'd like to thank you for not using any violence during that presentation. However, there is another good side to this. For speaker, Lou will explain to us why it is actually such a good idea, or you may impugn Deb's ideas.
And Mark, as a reminder, this is for dogs as well.
This is for dogs to join our club. There is no other purpose.
All right. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, I think that in today's society, it is a dog-eat-dog world. And who best to learn from than dogs? If you don't realize it, especially on social media, it's kind of rough out there. I think dogs have always been man's best friend, but I think they can also be Toastmasters' best friend, mentors, and just maybe guide dogs. I think we could use some more mentors within Toastmasters. That seems to be one of the things that people say that they don't get enough of after joining, that maybe they thought they were going to. So perhaps a few more guide dogs would be good. That way it's not the blind leading the blind. In terms of sustenance, as Deb had mentioned, having food at meetings, I think, is going to be very important. Sure, we don't want any of the dogs to leave their business. And maybe we need to have an additional business portion of the meeting just for the dogs to do their business. Probably an outside meeting, I would imagine. The dogs could probably be really good sergeant at arms as well. I think they could deter, especially maybe in this digital meeting, the Zoom bombers. Maybe we can have dogs that we can sick after those who Zoom bomb meetings. That would be something. I think the dogs could keep people in line. Can you imagine a dog as a grammarian? I think that is something that could keep people. Dogs are used to shock collars, and maybe that's something that they might implement. It might be a bridge too far. I don't know. But I would suggest that there's all something that we could learn from dogs that perhaps we're not applying in our meetings already. Back to you, Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you, Lou. As always, an inspiring collection of plays on word. Just after my heart. But there's another side to the story. There is an against side, which is really obvious, and I know who has it, and so does Patty.
Patty who?
Patty you. Is this a knock-knock joke? No, this is a...
I can't even recover after Lou's presentation. Wait 1 second. I'll tell you why we don't want dogs. Dogs, come on, come over here right now. Hello. Whoa, 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 whoa. Tell us what you think. Do you want to be on Toastmasters? How about you? Come here, Molly. Yeah. See, that's why we don't want dogs. Oh, wait. Noodle, you too. Okay. I'm going to let them state their case. Can you hear him? Do you hear all of them? Now, we don't even have one guide dog for each of us. Only 4 of us. What'd you say? I don't understand them. Do you? They're serious though. They're as passionate as Deb is. That's for sure. Yeah. and they're taking their case outside. It's not enough just to tell us about it. They got to tell everybody about it. So if you tell any secrets in this Toastmaster meeting, these dogs are going to spill the beans for sure. You don't want dogs in Toastmasters. Back to you.
Wow.
Mark.
Wow, Patty, I don't know whether you just demonstrated why dogs should not be members or let them show their Toastmaster skills. I'm not sure which. However, Cuckoo, would you like one?
Sure.
Okay, Cuckoo, I would like you to be for the concept of dogs being Toastmaster members.
I'm going to deviate a bit. I would like them to be club coaches rather than members and make a new elective that'll incorporate dogism into Toastmaster. Why do I say that? Vocal variety. Because no matter what sit is in Filipino, in English, in Chinese, or whatever language there is, it's really the command that you have to say, sit. Another thing that will be highlighted with having dogs as coaches, body language. If you point your finger down with your pointer pointing to the floor, and that means sit, no, with or without voice. It's just that quick shifting of the finger and pointing down towards the floor. And another thing, for new members who take forever, even just to stand up and go to the lectern, or even unmute, open the camera, because they fear public speaking, they can have animal therapy. A lap dog that they can caress so that their nervousness won't transfer to their gestures that look like windmills. Dogs have a place in Toastmasters. However, I do agree with Patty. They're way too noisy. They're hecklers. We don't need them in meetings, but we need them to support us and interpret our voice and also our gestures. Mark, what say you?
Wow, Cuckoo, thank you very much. You've said it almost all, but the final word will be John's. He's keeping time and he knows we only have about 2 minutes left. John, you've just heard some of the best and most ridiculous ideas that we are likely to hear in a Toastmaster meeting. Tell us in the end, what's wrong with this idea?
Thank you, Mr. Topic Master and fellow Toastmasters. Preposterous. Having dogs, we can't understand them. Why have some people that you can't understand? In a Toastmaster meeting, we have people that speak English language. Dogs aren't even human beings. We got to draw the line somewhere. We need to have humans so that we can communicate with one another. That's the whole idea of Toastmasters International. And we may think and believe that dogs do communicate, which they do, but they're a different language. They have to be brought in to speak the English language. And in terms of them being sergeant at arms, it might be quite humorous to put them in that position, but they cannot relate to the other club Toastmasters. So therefore, it's very imperative that we have some consistency, some commonality, and the language has got to be the right sustenance for this club. A dog has great nutrition, can eat everybody out of house and home, but not the right type of sustenance. It needs sustenance for, like that we can all understand. I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Mark.
Thank you, John. I think everybody did a wonderful job, but you missed the obvious point. Dogs would keep cats out of meetings. How could we have missed that? Head down to your kennel and start handing out applications. Over to you.
Oh, thank you very much, Mark. Wasn't that a wonderful topics impromptu session? Anyone that missed this, again, they have really missed out. I do want to take a quick moment and recognize another guest that has shown up. I understand she's contacted us from Facebook. Aisha, and I understand you're from Sri Lanka. Would you just quickly say hi, and we'll call on you at the end of the meeting for your comments about your experiences. Well, we'll call on Aisha at the end of the meeting for her feedback on her experiences. While John is giving us the times for our speakers, would you please put up the vote for best table topic speaker?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. The times go as follows: 148 for Alan, 204 for Lou, 203 for Debs, 121 for Patty, 142 for Cuckoo, and John came in a little over a minute.
Nicely done. Thank you very much. And that ballot hasn't quite come up yet. How close are we, Haritosh?
I was so much engrossed that I didn't update the poll, so it should be there, but we can carry on with the first evaluation.
Okay, I can understand. So let's move on to our first evaluator for Francine's presentation. Yes, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you. Francine, I believe you delivered a speech with sustenance. You asked me to comment on your voice projection, uses of pauses, and audience reaction. I believe that you did a good job with leaning in and changing your posture to help with your voice projection. I received those very well. And you did that in times, I believe, when you really wanted us to let a word sink in or pay attention to a certain word. An opportunity you might have in voice projection is to maybe take opportunities to match your voice to a word, such as soft, silky, kinky. That might just provide a further opportunity also to grab attention. Your uses of pauses. I believe you did a good job pausing for words that you, again, wanted people to relate to or hear or let sink in. And you also did that when you presented your visuals. You presented the visual and there was a slight pause for us to gather information, and then you continued. An opportunity for use of pauses. You presented 2 to 3 lists, I believe. Those lists for me were presented a little quick in your speech. You might want to just pause a little bit between each of the words in those lists. For your audience reaction, I will just tell you what I observed during points of your speech. In the beginning, I believe I looked around the screen that most were attentive to you. They wanted to know what you were going to talk about. The visuals helped keep attention for most. And I saw smiles and nods during material that was universal or something that we could all relate to. And I also noticed some pensive thoughts when you were presenting your understandings. And I think that was a good thing, especially when you want others to try to understand what you learned from a certain experience. About 3/4 of the way through, there was a little distraction among some of the audience, but I would again just use this as an opportunity maybe to fluctuate your voice or lean in to grab that attention back. And then you did grab their attention back with the very catchy quote that summarized your whole speech in the end. I believe that you were successful with this project in sharing your aspect of a cultural identity. Thank you.
Very, very good. Thank you for a good evaluation. And moving on to our evaluator and poll giver. There are your votes for the best table topics presenter, and this is going to be a tough one.
While everybody's quiet, I'm going to wave goodbye because I have another meeting I have to drive to. See you guys next week.
Thank you, Mark. Good to have you here. Safe travels. Okay, Haritosh.
Thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, and most welcome guests. Today, we saw a speech which I believe is going to be the humorous speech for the upcoming session. Mihir was attempting a project called Present and Proposal of Level 3 with the title Ban the Social Media. The purpose of the project is for a member to practice developing and presenting a proposal. And boy, did we not start it uninstalling our social media apps? I mean, I thought of uninstalling YouTube, but yeah, I am a YouTuber, I can't do that. Anyways, I'll start off with what were some of the great things. You had a title that enticed us. What exactly is that? And I like to commend you, first of all, for standing and giving a speech, delivering the speech, because a lot of us have got into that comfort zone of standing. Your speech was full of humor and sarcasm and made us all laugh throughout. I was able to see everybody was having a gala time with all the fun and sarcasm you're having with the TikTok and Twitter and YouTube. I know probably you would have done YouTube, especially for me. And you also referred some previous session, which reminds us that no, we can refer that previous session. It was very engaging, very humorous. At the same time, you had great poise and calm. I saw sometime you taking intentional pauses for us to sinking the information. And towards the end, you got into that serious mode of why it is so dangerous, the social media not handled properly. So great job on that. But if I have to give you a few recommendations, because that's what we are here for. First of all, one phrase, which is, I know, beating by parents, especially I catch it up because that can be a very touchy topic based on the culture. In a global culture, not everywhere it is appreciated. So when you are talking about he got a good beating by parents, it might strike the wrong chord at times. So you have to be really sensitive, and that's what we aim here in Global Club. You were fiddling with headphones almost throughout the speech, so you might want to either get away with that or put a restraint that not fiddle, because that indeed was distracting. Your background is also a bit shiny, which actually made us curious looking into what exactly is there. So you might want to find a plain background if you can, or use a virtual background. Now, most important thing, I think, which is probably a challenge for a proposal like this, there were a lot of information, a lot of sarcasm as something, but for a proposal to stand through, I believe your call to action should have been a little more longer, a little more serious, and little more informative. Why? We all can have fun about social media, but why is it so important for a 15-year person to ban the social media for them? So I think there was a little more opportunity of improvement, especially towards the end, where you are actually giving a call of action and presenting a proposal. But all in all, I think I had a lot of fun and lot of humor, lot of in there. So that's great job, and keep it up. We are so proud of your achievements. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Haritosh. And moving on to the brief feedback evaluations on our impromptu speakers. This will be interesting. Would, I believe, Debs be made note? Yes, Debs, you're up. Odd number table topics.
Certainly. Would you like me to do all three odd ones?
Oh,
or
yes, do all in a
Okay.
sequence.
First person I evaluated was Alan, and Alan was for having dogs in our meeting, which is disgusting. He had excellent hand gestures and enthusiasm throughout, a really positive attitude. One recommendation, he could have actually acted out a dog, like or something like that, which would have made it an even better example for us. Second, we had Lou began by clarifying the question, which was great. And he used some sayings as well, dog eat dog's world and man's best friend, which I think was great. And I loved the way Lou brought in the Toastmaster references as well. One recommendation, Lou's eyes were slightly off camera, looking to his left, I would say, and it would be better to be facing the camera head on for the audience. And finally, I evaluated Cuckoo, who talked about having club coaches and introducing dogism to Toastmasters. I thought she had great vocal variety, and she was had a vibrant voice which came across, great pauses, and also talking about new members in Toastmasters being helped by the dogs with fear of public speaking. I thought was great. In terms of recommendation, I would have liked to have seen her video on, then I could have evaluated body language and gestures. Finally, that's it from me. Over to the even topics time evaluate.
Yes. Alan.
That would be myself. Well, Debs, you came right after me, but you were against my idea. You didn't have a greeting, but you compensated by having lively expressions and gestures. You handled it very well. You had expansive ideas, talking about doggy toilets and bags and stink, and throughout you had wonderful expressions, and you had a full fluid flow of thoughts with a summary at the end, a wonderful mini speech. Patty, you were against the idea. You started with Patty Who, and I wasn't sure where that was going. We don't have any other Patties, so you skipped a greeting to all the Toastmasters. I wasn't sure what was going on there. But you had a superb use of props by bringing in your multiple dogs and explaining that they don't understand. And you're very passionate about the concept of not having dogs. They need to take things outside. And then there's John. What's wrong with the whole idea? You started with a proper greeting and explained the obvious, that dogs can't understand English, so there needs to be a human factor there. You had a forceful, good volume and brought up some points such as they can't make a good sergeant of arms, and you brought in a word imperative. I like that. You did have let in a and a pause, so that could have been enhanced. But all in all, the table topics were novel. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, everyone. And on the proposal, one of the things that occurred to me, that would really help with club membership. Everybody could have, Patty could have 5 members join, herself and 4 dogs, I believe, regardless.
And Debs can start a Gavels Club as well.
Yes, now the vote for best evaluator, while John gives us the times for the evaluators. John, evaluator times. My screen makes it look like he might be frozen. Well, if he pops back in later, we'll catch that. Very good. Let me say we've got the vote in. Let's move on to our language facilitator. Lou, you must have had fun today.
Thank you, Jerry, and fellow Toastmasters and guests, for our word of the day today, which was sustenance. Just about everybody used it at some point during the meeting, whether it was during the warm-up session, as they were speaking or evaluating, doing a table topic. So great job there. In terms of filler words, I didn't really get a good itemized count, but pretty below the usual number of filler words, which is on par with a advanced Toastmasters club. Well below the average of maybe a filler word per minute that we might see at some of our other non-advanced clubs. In terms of interesting turns of phrase or words, I liked the phrase that Francine had, remove the kink from our brain. I thought that was an interesting way of putting it. I caught a expansive experience from Alan, a word from Deb that I don't even know how it's spelled or what the definition is, but she said TMI is barmy, I think was what I caught. And
Balmy.
Balmy? Okay.
No, balmy. You tell him, Debs.
Okay, you may have to type it in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as far as kind of the non-words, that we got some so's. Mahir used so a lot, but it was because it was social media. So I didn't count that. Some double words, an and from Heritosh. Alan Schmidt had it and then it. And then from Patty's dog, I heard an arf, when probably one arf would have been just fine. So with that, I'll turn it back over to our Toastmaster, Jerry.
Thank you, Lou. Very, very interesting. Good word, good report. Thank you so much. Abhishek is our general evaluator. Let's see what we have.
To have John back.
Could you please call John?
Did you want me to give times?
Oh, there you are. Okay. Yes. Just a moment, Abhishek.
So
John,
in
yes.
terms, Jennifer's evaluation was 228, Haritosh's was 307, and Deb's came in the odd table topics at 127, and Alan came in at 150. And then I had Zoom problems. I didn't get Lou Begnell's the language facilitator. I didn't get his time.
That's okay. He normally would not have been timed anyway, but thank you. Very thorough on the times. Now back to Abhishek for general evaluator comments.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Jerry. So it was a great meeting. We started on time. We extended, we came back on time, and again we are extended. So I'm kind of 4 minutes late before I could come on stage. So I would try to make it as fast as I can, and I would try to wrap up. Just a second. What I loved about today's meeting was our word of the day, sustenance, aligned with the meeting and allowed everybody to speak. That was evident in the language report. Great job, Lou. Because that's something we often fall, because we come up with, I have myself had taken up some very crazy words which were difficult to pronounce. Business session was a personal highlight. I could see Patty, all praises, her face was showing she was enjoying the business session, and she could see the well club to take itself. Because when the guests are coming in and they see that club is not just conducting good meetings, but it's a well-managed, translates into an overall holistic approach of the club. Warm-up session was great. As I said, Paul was able to bring this back to the timing. I have enjoyed Mark being a great table topic speak master. The first time I ever met him was Bangladesh, wherein he was giving us one word and asking us for a minute. Today, he gave us a topic wherein we had to hoof and crawl and growl. That means, why should we not have a club coach, or why should we have a club coach? Coming to our tech session, Kit. It was a very good session. The highlight was, it was more of show and tell. When you were giving tech tips, there was what you you can have an immersive screen and then just leave it there once. All through the time you were using immersive screen. And when you were making the changes, because as someone who might be tech challenged, I might have queries. Oh, if I do this, how would the immersive screen look? Or if I do this, how would that look? But your tech session gave people an idea. Okay, if I'm doing all these things, this is how it will look. Session, a great learning. Show me something, I will remember it for a longer time. Great job, everyone to applaud him. Coming to our evaluators. So I personally prefer keeping for speech recommendations, 3 commendations, and both the speech evaluators used it. The recommendations and commendations were given with specific examples. What Jennifer did great was giving recommendations on the specific points that Francine had requested her. Kudos to you for keeping in mind everything by listening to 7-minute speech. Coming to Mihir's speech. Personally speaking, I was personally speaking as if Mihir is roasting Haritosh, because anyone who knows Haritosh know he's on every social media. Trust me, he's on Clubhouse, he's on YouTube, and he's good at it. Trust me. But it was a great speech and evaluation was equally good. And what you actually used was something recommended competitions, opening, CRC, and a summary. Just ensuring that you get maximum. So as an advanced club, I know you're not competing this year as a DO. I'm not competing this year as DO. But then again, showcase what a good evaluation is. Great job. Coming to our table topic evaluators, Deb and Alan, both of them were speakers, both of them evaluated. I enjoyed, she was able to even grab how he used growl as a way of expression. What I would recommend for the second speaker, you mentioned that you use some Toastmaster reference. Now here's the deal. We were debating whether dog should become a member in Toastmasters. So what were the points that he made, make his point? What were the references that he used? A reminder of it would have been great. Alan, great use. You mentioned even the props. All in all, we had a great meeting. We are slightly above, but I would say that's a great meeting. Kudos to everyone. Over to you.
Thank you, Abhishek. We can all learn from your comments. I appreciate that very much. I'm going to call now on guests. I'm going to call on Coco first. I'm going to call on Aisha second, and then I'm going to call on Patty. So Coco, would you like to offer some comments on your experiences today?
This is a fast-paced meeting. We had 2 speakers and a debate for table topics, energetic, good speakers, and insightful evaluations. I enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and we certainly hope to see you again, and we hope perhaps you'll join us. Aisha, comments? Hello, Aisha. There
Hello.
she is. Hello. Would you like to offer some comments on your experiences this morning? Today, excuse me.
Hello.
Yes, we hear you.
Hello, it's a great session.
Yes, we hear you. Would you like to comment on your experience today?
It's a great session. I love of enjoying today. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for joining, and please join us again in 2 weeks. We would love to see you again. Patty, guest comments.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for allowing my guests to join the meeting today. It's nice to know that I can bring anybody or anything with me to the meeting. This is the funnest meeting I've ever been to. I had another club that I said was the funnest club in Toastmasters. I have to take it back. This is definitely the best club that I've ever been to. And I am just going to tell you, where do I sign up? Because I want to be a regular part of this group.
Hari Tosh will be in touch with you. Or Nahir, or both. We would love to have you join.
As long as dogs are allowed. Just kidding.
With an occasional cameo presence.
Took a long time to settle those guys down.
Thank you so much. Just a reminder, look for those dues comments or dues announcements coming from Hari Tosh. I would like to now, Abhishek, do you have what do you want to tell us about the next meeting? Remind us, I guess, to get our availability into you ASAP.
Thank you, Jerry. So as mentioned earlier, I have mail before the meeting started 30 minutes before requesting your availability for next 3 meetings starting from 18th of September till 16th of October. Please revert to that mail by Wednesday, 8th of September, 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll roll out the agenda accordingly. And as most of you have requested special meetings, debates, so your availability would allow me to planning whether we want to have a debate. And once we have for 18th, I'll send out another mail. This is the special kind of meeting and what role you would like to play on your request. Thank you. Over to you, Jerry.
Excellent. Looking forward to that. And Patty, I saw you taking some notes. You can, if you have your availability, you can pass that on to me and then I can pass it on to Abhishek. And now our awards. Best Evaluator. Jennifer. Oh, this is going to be
I do like to mention because Francine said she was really humbled with the people voting him for the best speaker, and I think she deserves it. But I just informed her before she left, so and she was really humbled, so wanted to convey to the club.
Well, she deserved it. Thank you for that. That makes our meeting officially over. We can stick around and chat for a bit, and the officers will start our meeting in approximately 5 minutes.
I did actually just want to say that I am a dog lover, in fact.
Oh, we know that. Golden retriever.